was just a nice way to kind of get together and have therapy and tell stories about the days of yore, and also to lament, what's happening now.
Okay, so Mike who? Sorry.
Michael Lesker.
Michael Lesker. Okay. So you say therapy. A lot of you guys.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
What kind of therapy?
Well, I'm being slightly facetious. Therapy in the sense of we all loved newspapers. Raphael, Mike, everyone here, and to watch them sort of slide into the sea. It's a little piece of us, and more importantly, it dictates where America is going to get its news in the future. Blogs? Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Where do you see the newspaper industry going? You were one of the people that helped build a good foundation for news in Baltimore, for news. You worked for the Evening Sun, for Christ's sake.
And the Morning Sun.
The Morning Sun, yeah. Where do you see it going, and what are your thoughts about that?
I don't see it going any place good, any place that I like it, or probably anyone at these tables like it. But things change, and I accept that. Progress is our most important product. But to watch something as dear to your heart, like a newspaper, or newspapers in general, we're gonna, technology dictates. But I'm a big fan of Arthur C. Clarke's book, and later became one of my favorite movies, 2001: A Space Odyssey, where he predicted the dangers of artificial intelligence, and I think we're living to see some of that already.
Luckily, it only really occurs in video games so far for us kids. But how old are you, and where are you from in Baltimore?
I'm 65. I grew up in East Baltimore in a row house. My father was a cop.
You're 65 years old? Uh-huh. You got more hair than I do. I'm 22.
What can I say? No hair plugs, it's all mine. And I grew up, I was an altar boy, but I also had the benefit, which benefited me later in journalism. I had a lot of street time, if you will. I played a lot of sports. I was on a good basketball team in our playground. We traveled all around the city. But I always from the time my memory started clicking, I loved words and reading, and I continued that love. I was very fortunate. I went to City College, which was an excellent high school back then, and my sophomore English teacher told me that I had some promise after I wrote a composition or something. And he was right. And he criticized me, he helped me, he pushed me, and lo and behold, 2 months after I graduated from the city, a guy named John Stedman hired me in the sports department for News American. And that was a thrill, and it was also an opportunity. And sadly, it's something that will probably never happen again, the way newspapers are and the way newspapers were in the last 20 years.
So that was part of your reason. You decided you were a good writer, you were a good storyteller. You guys speak in stories. My observation here is that you speak the foreign language of storytelling. And that's when you guys sit around the table. What about that, I think, kind of is telling to you guys as journalists and the purpose of these lunches?
Well, I mean, to me, and I can't speak for anyone else, but the most important element of the equation was the reader. And I love stories because I grew up appreciating them. We grew up at a time when I was at the News American, I would read 4 and 5 papers a day. I look at Jimmy Breslin, I look for Pete Hamill, I look for Red Smith, because I was working in sports then. Look for style and the ability to spin a story in a very tight space, make it readable, make it have some punch with the reader, and you're doing your job.
Excellent. So, what are you doing these days now that you're no longer at a news desk?
Well, I do a couple things. I volunteer up in Harford County. I work coaching writing at a couple of elementary schools in Harford County. I work with the homeless. There's a residential shelter in Bell Camp. And I've been involved in the art and sport of Taekwondo for like 35 years of my life, and I teach a class, and I have adult adults, young adults, children. We have state and national champions, and we have special needs children in some cases. So it's still a passion for me.
Excellent. So, can you discuss the reason why you left newspapers? Did you just retire, or were you out for a buyout or a layoff?
Well, I mean, everybody who had their eyes open saw it coming, and it didn't happen in an instant. The last 5 years of my time in newspapering were miserable. And when the Sun offered me a buyout, an early buyout in '07, I took it happily. So, at least I didn't have to go through the aggravation and the pain that I saw others going through until, that last massive layoff of 62 people. Well, I mean, that's a perfect example of why out-of-town owners are partially responsible for newspapers just being ground into dust.